Katrina's Creations Knitting Podcast. If you're a first-time viewer, thank you for stopping by, and please don't forget to click the red subscription button at the end of the video if you've enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up if you've liked it, and if you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back despite my attempts at doing a podcast. So, we will just start right in. I did not cut my hair. It's all bundled up in the back up here. Today's been crazy. It's 7 o'clock at night, and I'm just now recording the podcast. My brother lives about maybe an hour and a half away from me, and he was moving today, so my husband and I went up to help them move, and we no sooner walked in the door this afternoon about 1 o'clock or so, a little after, actually about 2 o'clock, and there was a telephone call, and it was from my mother-in-law saying my husband's cousin was visiting. Did we want to come down and see him? So then we drove 45 minutes the opposite direction from where we live, away from my brother the other direction. So we went like both ways down through 2 states today. But it was a good time, and we got to visit with both sides of our family in one day. But anyway, because that's the way why I look the way I do today, because I'm sweaty, it's hot, it's humid here, and I was helping him move. So yeah, hair's clipped up because it's a sweaty mess. So anyway, what have I done this week? I have 2 finished objects, which I'm going to insert a picture of right here. Those would be the 2 dishcloths that were remaining that I gave away to my sister-in-law already. That's why you're just getting a picture of them. The one that is on the right-hand side is a design of my own. It's based on just a mitered square with some yarn overs in it. And the other one is from the pattern book that I showed last week. It's from a sampler pattern book, and I just cut it down to size, and that pattern is called Little Cables. And they're just like tiny little groupings of cables all the way through. So, but I already gave it away to my sister-in-law for their housewarming present, along with some dish towels and things, stuff I didn't make, but it just kind of all went together. This is how much I have left of the yellow yarn. Boy, it's really blowing it out. Looks like it's white. Anyway, that's what I've got left. And when I made my dishcloths the other week, this is what I had left. So between the 2, they're the same color of yellow. So they're going to be combined, and I'll probably get one more dishcloth for myself out of this. So that's what I've been doing as far as my finished objects. Now, I have been working on a shawl that I'm designing, and I thought I would tell you a little bit about the process. When I showed this to you last week, here it is so far. When I showed this to you last week, I was about here. I had hoped to get into the second color. That hasn't happened. You can see the pattern changes into kind of diamond shaped, and there's some lace edging here. So it's kind of slow going. I have been working on it a couple hours every night, but I wanted to show you my pattern writing because I like to be able to know where I'm at if I drop a pattern. If I put it down and pick it back up, I want to know exactly where I'm at. So when I'm writing up a pattern, I want to make sure I do the same thing for whoever's reading it. So if you have gotten my pattern banner unfurled, you will see that I have a stitch count after almost, if not every single row, it's almost every row. So I'm doing the same with this one, but let me show you my pattern so far. It will be abbreviated when I actually write it into the pattern format, but when I'm writing it out, I actually write down every single stitch, just so that I know exactly how many I've got, and then at the end of each row, I count how many stitches I should have, and then I count the stitches on the project itself to make sure that they both match, and that way I know that I'm keeping the pattern straight and that I don't have any mistakes, hopefully, in it. So this is it so far. Page 1, page 2, and I don't know if you can see how tiny I write. But yeah, it's tiny. Here is page 3, page 4. Oh no, page 4. Had notes on the back of it. Page 4 and page 5. All of that for this. This is maybe about 15 inches so far. I'll hold it this way, you can see it better. But there it is so far. But it does take a lot to write it because, like I said, I count after every single row to make sure everything is what it should be. So I've been working on that. I've also been working on my banner Unfurled for the knit along that we have going on. If you have not, I feel like a broken record. I really don't want to bore you guys, but in case you haven't watched the podcast before, we have a knit along going on for one of the patterns that I designed. And the pattern's called Banner Unfurled. This is what it looks like. That's my granddaughter. Can you see proud grandma moment? This is my granddaughter in the picture. And she did the modeling for me. And I designed this for holidays like what's coming up in the U.S. on Tuesday for the 4th of July because I never had anything patriotic to wear. So that's why this is a 3-color shawl. It's garter stitch, some yarn overs, some striping. It's a very easy pattern. It has some beads in it. So we have a knit along going on for that. It has been running since April and it ends the end of this month. It actually will end July 30th and I will announce the winner on July 31st. The prize for this is a project bag, stitch markers, a progress keeper, and everybody can say it together because I've said it every week, a skein of primrose yarn. So that is the prize. So I'm knitting along with everybody, except the pattern calls for it in fingering weight or sport weight. I'm doing this one in lace weight. I will never do this again, to be honest, because it's taking me forever. I can usually knit that shawl in about a week and a half. I think I've been working on this for a month now, because it's lace weight, so I'm not following the stitch count with it. I'm following the size. I'm just comparing it to the other scarves that I've made, just to see how close it is. And I'm just basing it off of that. So here is mine so far. I feel like I need a magnifying glass because it is just so very thin. I can work on this maybe an hour or so, and then I have to put it down because it makes my eyes go wonky. But I'm making 2 more of these yet. One for my daughter and one for my mother. I think I'm going to, and they're in lace weight when I bought the yarn. So I think what I'm going to do is when I make theirs, I'm going to hold the yarn double because I've got plenty of it. So I will have more than enough to be able to do that. I just wish I would have done it with this. It would have made life a little easier because I think I'm knitting these on size 2s. Basically toothpicks and thread. That's what I feel like I'm doing this with. So it's taking me forever. But that's the furthest. Last week I was right in here in the lace. I'm almost finished this garter section. And then I go into another lace with this color again. So that's what it looks like. And it looks kind of bunchy right now because I've got it, I'm halfway through a row and it also has to get blocked. So that is my progress on there. We do have 2 people so far who have entered into the knit along for the prize. In order to be entered into the prize, you just need to go onto my Ravelry page, onto the groups. It's KatrinasCreations, all one word, and just reply in the thread, post your picture, and tell me what kind of yarn you used. So we have 2 entrants so far. Jane, who I'd mentioned the other week, she has, hers was done in, I believe it was Cascade, and it was done in a cream, a blue, and a chocolate color. And then we have Lori, who entered it this week, and she did hers, I forget the yarn she used, but it was in the red, white, and blue color. But she did something really fascinating to the edges. Let's see if I can show you on the edge of this. Oh, it doesn't show real well in the picture, but the edge of this right here, where this blue is, right along here, is a picot edging. She put beads in the picot edging. It looks beautiful. I never would have thought of doing that. Excuse me. I'm also fighting allergies. but I would not have thought of doing it. And when I saw her picture show up on the Ravelry group, I looked at it and I thought, wow, her picot really is opened up and it looks really pretty. And then when I read what she had put in there, I saw what she had done, and the beads actually opened up the picot edging, so it really shows it off well. So, Lori, that was a wonderful idea. It looks great, and I think if I've got enough beads, that's going to happen to my shawls too, because it really made the edging pop on it. So, yeah, check them out. Check out the pictures from both Jane and Lori in the groups page. And if you are knitting a banner unfurled, please enter it for the competition. If you start the banner unfurled, if you started it between June 15th, sometime after June 15th, and you finish it before the end of August, you will be eligible to enter it into the Three Sisters Knit podcast. They are also doing a knit along of the same project, so you could put it in there as well and double dip. So, and they got some really cool prizes in there, so if you haven't checked it out, go over and take a look. I also was watching SSK Yarners, and Sharon on SSK Yarners was working on the shawl as well, and I think hers is in shades of green. So I was watching her podcast, her and Karen, last night, and saw how far she had gotten along. So it's fun watching, to see your own pattern get done in so many different colors and different people embellishing it different ways. It's really exciting, and it's I don't know, it's just it's encouraging to see other people actually do your pattern and like it, and just seeing it in different colors is exciting. So it's like I don't want to stop making the pattern. I want to keep doing it in all these other colors that I'm watching other people do it in. So yeah, I've got 2 more to make after this one, so I'll be on this pattern for a while. Now, I thought I also wanted to share an apology to Lisa Marie. She shared a tip a couple weeks ago, and me having a pre-senior moment. I'm not technically a senior. Well, I won't be a real senior for several years yet, but I'm 54. At the end of November, I will officially be 55, and I can order off the cheaper menu at Perkins. Then I could get the 55 and older menu. But anyway, I had a pre-senior moment and completely forgot about the tip. She had a wonderful idea, and I told her she had a great idea, and then I completely forgot to share it with you guys. So anyway, what she had suggested, if you remember, I think it was Kathy Tinkler had shared that she takes her double pointed needles and puts a rubber band around them to keep the stitches from falling off. The idea that Lisa Marie had was basically the same idea, but you could even wrap the cord in or anything else you wanted. And she used a binder clip. You know, they're usually black. They kind of look like a hinge with little, like, leg things hanging off of them. You know what I'm talking about with a binder clip. Anyway, she would put a binder clip on them, on her needles, and hold everything together. So that was a wonderful idea that she had, that I really wasn't meaning to keep all to myself. I just completely forgot to share it with everybody. So on to, we have an unskeinin today. I had asked last week for you to look at some yarn and tell me what you thought went well together, and all of us were in agreement that this goes with absolutely nothing. There's nothing, I mean, the colors are really showing up good. This color is called Wisterious. It should be called Weirdterious. It's pretty, but it's very unusual. It's very kind of strange. It's kind of got some muddy looking colors in it where the yellow and the brown go together in a couple spots, like right over in here. You can see it's kind of got some odd colors. And then I realized, I mean, I'm not going to put this with anything because I just don't know what to put it with. But then I realized that a lot of times when you open something up that's skeined up, it looks totally different. So I thought maybe we would do that together online. This is called Starry Sock Wisterious, and it is by a company called Dream. It is a sock weight with stellina. It says with silver in it. So I thought we would do an online unskeining, because sometimes, like I said, when you see it untwisted, it looks totally different. You see things that you didn't see before. So Let's see if it makes any difference whatsoever. Not too much. Not a whole lot of difference. There's definitely some more, looks like some more yellows in here, inside, that weren't showing before. But it's definitely an odd color. And it was funny because we were talking at my knitting Tuesday or Thursday night, and I was telling them about this yarn and what I was going to do with it. And my yarn shop owner suggested, well, what about if you over dye it? Which means you just dye on top of this. And maybe you could get something you would enjoy a little bit more, or that would go with some more things. And I thought about that, and I was like, oh, that would be a great idea. And so I came home and I was thinking, yes, we can do this. I wanted to show it to you guys first before I did that. And then I realized when I hand dye things, I dye them with food color, and to set the dye, you wrap it in plastic wrap and you put it in the microwave for 2 minutes. I was like, okay, yeah, we could do that. And then I looked at it and I went, oh, wait a minute. Sparkles means there might be like the metallic things. Metallic things and microwaves don't go together. I might have 4th of July fireworks in my microwave. That would be bad. So I'm thinking if I do over dye this, I'm going to have to put it in a pot and do it that way. So I haven't made a total decision whether I'm going to or not. I just know that it's kind of a different, it's not an ugly color or anything. It's just a different kind of color. It's very hard to find things to go with. So unless you just knitted a hat or something out of this all by itself. But yeah, the yellow in it is just definitely a little different. And the content, the fiber content in this is 98% Australian merino wool superwash and 2% silver fibers, spun and hand dyed in the US. So anyway, that's what it looks like. If I do something with it, I will show you what it turns out to. So anyway, thought we would share that because we all came to the general consensus. It definitely is not going to look good mixed with anything. Now my acquisitions this week were kind of unique. I had a lady at my church say, would you like a box of yarn? Let me think for a minute. Would I like a box of yarn? Of course I took it. So I thought I would share with you what I got. I have a box of baby yarn. And this is the type, I don't know what you really call it. It's got the little, let's see if you can see it in there. Kind of the wrapped, see how it's wrapped? The strands themselves, there you can see it. I don't even know what they call it when they do this. If somebody knows what it's called when they wrap the edges of the fiber. Let's see if I can get this cleansed enough so you can see it. Yeah, there you go. It kind of makes it look pearly, but it's just like a white strand of thread that's wrapped around the yarn. Kind of gives it a little bit more of an effect when you knit or crochet it up. Anyway, she gave me this. She said it had been sitting under her bed for years and she wasn't going to do anything with it. So, as far as I know, we have no babies due in our family for me to be doing anything with baby yarn. But I thought I would show you something that was in the box that had been done. Let's see if you can see this. It's maybe a third of the way done. And it is crocheted. I don't crochet. I do very basic. I mean, I could maybe do this. It's very basic. I do very basic crochet. I can do like zigzag, granny squares, that kind of thing. My crochet is like straight on one side. This side would be going wah, 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 because I can't keep it straight. I don't know why. I really struggle with crochet. I would never have straight edges like this. I'm just challenged that way. But this needle that she did this with, it is so tightly knit. She used a size 1 crochet hook. This is like super tiny, guys. It's a boys size 1. There's no way that I'm going to be able to do this and try to, and it's very tightly crocheted too. So I know if I tried to pick up this project and finish it, I mean, it's gorgeous. She did a beautiful job. It looks nice and even, but there's no way I would ever be able to maintain the same tension she's got. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I hate to say I would rip this out, but it's like too small to do something with and too big to do. I just don't know. I'm not sure. I hate to tear all that work out because that is a lot of work. But I really don't know if I could. I have to try this and see if I could match her tension. But I kind of doubt it because, like I said, I'm crochet challenged. But with the topic of crocheting coming up, I thought it would be interesting to show you a couple of things. My grandmother was a crocheter, and my grandmother passed away several years ago. I guess maybe about 10 years ago, my grandmother passed away. Might not even, no, it couldn't have even been that long. Maybe 6 or 7 years ago, she passed away. But I thought I would show you some of the doilies that she used to make. So we have, I want to make sure I show you the right side. This is the wrong side. Okay. This was one of them. And she had doilies all over the place. I remember going over to her house and she would block the doilies on her carpet in her living room. You would go over and she would soak them sometimes in like a sugar water to make them stiff. And then she'd stretch them out on the carpeting and pin them to the carpet so that you would walk in and there'd be doilies all over the carpet. This is one of the larger ones. And it's probably maybe 18 feet across, or 18 inches across. And I'll bring it up close so you can see some of the stitches. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm not this coordinated at all, but you can see it here. And then I have one more that I found. Here it is. She would make one for me at Christmas time. And then when she passed away, I found a couple more. And nobody wanted them, and I said, I'll take them, because I knew how much work went into them. So, those are her doilies. And she used to put doilies on the arms of her chairs, and on the back of the chair. I always wondered, why would you put a doily? I mean, it looked pretty, but I was like, why would you put a doily on the back of the chair? So it got me thinking about the history of crochet and what things were. And I found out why my grandmother put the doilies on the back of the chair. Probably because her mother did it. So I got all this information from a website called Crochet Guild of America. And there was a little article by a lady named Ruthie Marks. And it says crochet. I'm going to read a lot of this because I won't remember it. Crochet is called crochet by the English, the French, the Belgians, the Italians, and Spanish-speaking countries. In Holland, it's called hakken. In Denmark, it's called heckling, and I'm probably totally massacring how to pronounce these. It's called heckling in Norway, and virkning in Sweden. The word crochet comes from a middle French, so I guess it's an older French, for the word hook. And stories of it developed in the 1500s, but there's the only concrete evidence they have of crochet is in Europe in around the 1800s. So it's not as old as knitting by any stretch of the imagination. The mother of crocheting, in other words, before crocheting, there was a thing called tambouring, which was a lot like the netting that you use for needlepoint, except they would hold a stretched frame with the needlepoint netting on top, and it would be fastened to it, and you would hold the thread underneath the frame and use the hook to go down through the fabric and pull the thread through it, so you would have like little loops, and then you would almost like chain stitch those loops. And I've got a hair. When I wear my hair up in the air, parts of my hair fall out constantly. But you would pull out these loops and then chain them together on the top of the surface, and it was called Tamourine. But the chaining stitches were a form of the crochet. When they eventually did away with the fabric, taking the fabric out and just were using the actual needle, the crochet hook, and the thread, they called it crocheting in the air, which I thought was really interesting. Mademoiselle Rigaud de la Branchardère, she took bobbin lace patterns. Now, bobbin lace is the ladies you see with the big, like, bolster pillows in front of them, and they have a pattern on the pillow, and they have a whole bunch of little pins, and they have a bunch of little bobbins, like with, it seems like 20-some bobbins of thread, and they're like tossing the bobbins back and forth. I would end up with a giant knot. I know me. It would just be a jumbled up mess. But they toss them back and forth, and it forms lace. That is called bobbin lace. Well, this lady took the bobbin lace patterns and adapted crochet patterns to them. So they were, like I said, reproduced into crochet patterns. Irish crochet, which would be your crocheted lace and things, became a cottage industry during the potato famine, which happened in 1845 until 1850. And because so many people were impoverished because of the potato famine and starvation, they started crocheting lace, because at that time it was very popular to have lace collars and lace on your cuffs, and just a lot of decorative, frothy looking lace. They were being done in really horrible conditions. These people living in just very, poor situations, and that was how the family was, like, holding everything together. They would crochet this lace at nighttime after they had done all their chores on the farms, and then they would sell what they made, and that was helping to sustain the family during the time. So crochet, Irish crochet, I'm really so tongue-tied tonight. Irish crochet actually saved a lot of the families after the potato famine. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And a lot of these families, when they were able to save up enough money, they immigrated to other parts of the world, namely to North America. And when they came, they brought that skill with them. So that is when crochet was brought over to North America, was during that time. And crochet was used to accent, like I said, the sleeves and the collars. Victorians made crochet. It kind of caught on. It was like the thing to do was crochet. So people were crocheting lots of doilies, they were crocheting bird cage covers. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine what the bird was doing, like pecking through at the lace on the other side. But anyway, they were doing bird cage covers, flower pot mats, lamp mats, tablecloths, and antimassers. And I thought, what in the world is an antimasser? That happens to be what my grandmother was sticking on the back of the chairs, right at the head level. And come to find out that during the Victorian period, men oiled their hair so that their hairstyle stayed slicked back. And so they used oil in their hair. And women put these doilies on the backs of the sofas, because remember, Victorian furniture was a lot of silk, velvet, and damask. And they would put a lot of that on the back of the sofa or the chair, so that if the man's head happened to touch, it ended up on the doily and not ruining the upholstery on the furniture. So I guess some of that was a holdover from my grandmother. I think she was born in 1910, maybe a little later than that. I think she was a little later than that, but she was born in the early part of within like the 19-teens. So she would have very well remembered people putting this on the back of on their chairs. And her mother probably did it as well. And so that's why she had doilies on the backs of her chair. So I thought that was kind of interesting. By 1900 until 1930, people were actually began crocheting rugs and pot holders, the things we still use today that we crochet, like Afghans and things. Those came more into vogue in the 1930s. So I thought that was kind of interesting because, like I said, I'm not a crochet person, but when I got all this crochet in a box. It made me remember my grandmother and her crochet, and I thought it would be kind of fun to tie it all together and learn a little bit more about it, even though I'm totally inept at this particular craft. So I might have to learn to brush up on my crochet so I can fool with this blanket that's partially done. We'll see. If nothing else, it could be entertaining because, like I said, I don't crochet in straight lines. One side's always crooked. So I guess that is it for this week. It's kind of a short podcast, but it's late in the afternoon or late in the evening at this point, and I'm ready to go get a shower and get cleaned up after moving all day. So I hope you have, if you live in the U.S., we are celebrating 4th of July on Tuesday. So I hope you have a wonderful, safe 4th of July. I will try not to create fireworks in my microwave by dyeing my yarn. And I will see you again next week. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, like I said, click the little red button. Oh, and one last thing. I've kind of given up on the Instagram. I tried and fought it all week. And I have an account, but I can't seem to get it to load any of the pictures that I'm putting on it. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe I'll have to talk to one of my kids and have them help me figure it out. So if I can get it done, then I will have an Instagram. But at this point, I do not. So, yeah, that's where my status is, or lack thereof, with the Instagram. So, oh, and I ordered business cards. I've never ordered business cards. I've never had business cards in my life, but I got a discount on them. So when they come in, I will show them to you guys. It's exciting just to be able to... When I tell people I have a podcast or a channel, I had one lady say, well, where do I find podcasts? And I'm like, it's on YouTube. And she's like, really? And I said, yeah. But I was like, it would be so much easier rather than me trying to tell people that, or, you know, I tell them what my name of my podcast is, if I could just give them a business card, because it has my Ravelry information on it as well. So when it comes in, it's going to be about 2 weeks, then I'll share it with you guys so you can see what they look like. But I found some that had nitty stuff on them, so I was excited about it. So that is it for this week, and I will see you again next week. Happy knitting. Bye-bye.